Hi Aquarius, Sun, Moon, Ascendant, or Venus. This is Dane, and I'm going to be doing your April 2021 full moon reading for you. Now, I ask if this reading resonates with you. Don't forget to give it a thumbs up and also to subscribe to my channel. And if you would like to be notified whenever I upload new videos, and I upload all the time, just hit the bell notification button. And if you're interested in any of the cards that I'm using, they will be listed and linked in the description box below. Now, before we begin this reading, let us clear the energy space, raising our own energy vibration and releasing any negativity. So take a nice deep breath in, exhaling whenever it feels comfortable for you. Releasing all negativity from the body like storm clouds. Letting yourself feel calm, steady, and at peace as we enter into this safe and loving space. All right. Let's let the bulls sing as we see what the tarot has to say. How will Aquarius be affected by the April 2021 full moon? How will Aquarius be affected by the April 2021 full moon? How will Aquarius be affected by the April 2021 full moon? Angels and spirit guides, show me clearly. Guide this reading. And show me clearly, angels and spirit guides. Angels and spirit guides, show me clearly. Guide this reading and show me clearly. Ooh. Angels and spirit guides. Angels and spirit guides. Fantastic. Now the left-hand side is the inner self. The middle is the heart, the emotional self. The right-hand side, the public arena and the public self. So let's see what they have to say. We have the Wheel of Fortune. Excuse me. We have the Queen of Wands, fire sign energy, Aries, Leo, Sagittarius, which is going to connect us with the full moon on the 26th of May in Sagittarius, which is also a supermoon and a full moon eclipse. This moon that we are in, okay, the full moon on the 26th of April is also a supermoon, and the moon that we had just before in Libra was almost a supermoon. So everything was intensified because it was so close to being a supermoon, but it wasn't quite there yet. Then we have the 9 of Pentacles, the 7 of Swords. We have the Knight of Wands, again, that fire sign energy coming forward, Aries, Leo, Sagittarius. We then have the King of Wands, which I love. We have the King and the Queen looking at each other. There's power, there's intensity, there's something that we're moving towards that is really quite big, really quite extensive and powerful and brilliant for us in the realms of creativity, career, passion, desire. Yeah, it could be even a love connection coming forward during this time. And this moon in Scorpio is going to be aligning ourselves with the energy that will be crescendoing in Sagittarius. Okay, well, on the 26th of May. And then we have the 8 of Cups. We have the Death card, which is Scorpio energy. This full moon, of course, is in Scorpio on the 26th of April. We have the Hangman, change your mind, change your life kind of deal. Very much not looking at things the same way as everybody else, and we can see the reason why. You have the 6 of Wands. It makes you more successful. It really does. We have the Page of Cups. This moon acts as a teacher. This can also be a water sign energy that is a child, okay? a young water sign energy. Again, Pisces, Scorpio, Cancer. And then we have the Justice card, which is Libra energy, time frame September 23rd to October 22nd. And of course, the Scorpio energy comes right after that, which is October 23rd to November 21st. Now, before we dive into all of this right off the bat, let us see what the moon has to say for herself. Now, the really cool thing about this moon is that it is a supermoon. It's also called the pink moon, which is my favorite color. And the pink moon was named so by the Native Americans because of all the flowers that are blooming during this time of year. So it really is a beautiful moon about beauty, about connection with the kind of rejuvenation of life. Because it is in Scorpio, this connects us with evolution, with metamorphosis, death, rebirth, regeneration. So that is lovely. All right. We have the masculine, faith, release, nourishment, change, and resilience. Okay, so the masculine comes into play, which is really quite interesting because the moon is always seen as, well, mostly seen as feminine. So when you have the lunar god, as it's called right here, the masculine, coming into play, what it is that you have the feminine and the masculine coming together. So you can see that also in the Queen of Wands and the King of Wands, that sense of there being a duality to this time. We also have this time period in Taurus, so the sun is in Taurus, so the energy reflected by Scorpio is this kind of get things done, but also very sensual energy. The masculine coming into play with this is the sense of, let me look at what needs to be. Let me look at how it aligns, but also let me look at the beauty within me, which is not something we think of the masculine, but we should start. We really should. The sacred masculine has beauty and complexity to it, just as the sacred feminine has strength and determination to it. One without the other, it wouldn't exist. So here, there is going to be a real sense of what can I get done during this time? What is my desire, my intention? What do I want? And what am I heading towards? So there's this real sense of ideas and also focus coming into play. It leads us to faith. Now, faith with the worm moon. The worm moon was the moon in Libra, which was the past full moon. And so there is a sense here, the worm moon is about the worms coming back to life, in the dirt, richening the soil. So this is going to be a time where we see a richening of ourselves, where we have faith that what seemed stagnant awakens, and that there's beauty and there's power and there's understanding here in a way that there hadn't been before, in a way that it felt lost or we felt disjointed. So during this time, it can be that from the previous lunar cycle to this lunar cycle, we've worked a lot of things out. We could have gotten really angry, really frustrated, really overwhelmed at times, but it's set us into motion, into focus. And it has led us to this release that we so dearly need. And this is a time where we see issues around trust and control and power being brought up. And what we're going to see during this time is that we really do not like being told what to do. So Aquarius, we don't like being told what to do anyway, but because this is a time of inner growth and a cycle of inner growth is coming forward, we're releasing a lot of the negative energy that has held us back, a lot of the things that has kept us silent, that has kept us small, that has kept us from really seeing what we want. This is a time where we realize our resistance to change. And that's what we have here with the resilience, our resilience to the change that is coming. All right, we realize the resistance to change and we overcome our limitations. We start to really empower ourselves, emboldening ourselves, looking at things differently. It leads us to nourishment. This is a time where we have to nourish who we are. Why? Okay, there's a really specific reason. Because during this time, right, the full moon is squared Saturn in Aquarius with the Sun, Mercury, and Venus conjunct Uranus. So what this means is that when Saturn comes into play, Saturn is the stoic, solo, I have to do what needs to be done sort of energy. Now, if we were already raised in that you carry your own burdens, you don't have anybody to rely on, you better figure this out yourself. Or if we were trained in that way, if we went into a field or life wound up sweeping us up in such a way where it's all on our shoulders, we have nobody to turn to, that's going to be amplified during this time. And to nourish ourselves, we have to realize that there's food to move us forward. There is brilliance that is around us. And that happens with the Aquarius energy, okay? Because Saturn is in Aquarius. So this is our own energy coming forward. And Aquarius is, we're not meant to be by ourselves. We're not meant to fully stand alone. We can at moments in our life and quite well, but we're not meant to do it always. And so during this time, we are focusing on contemplation, this sense of, where do I want to be? How do I want to be? Why do I want to stand by myself? Is it better to stand with others? Do I need to figure this out for me? Is there a sounding board that I have? Is there a person I can talk to? If there isn't, is there a way that I can, make time to start journaling, start releasing the words, the emotions, the chaos that is inside me? And then with that, it leads us towards the eccentric. Aquarius, we love the eccentric side of life. Even if we don't always find ourselves embracing it, we should a little bit more. We should embrace what we truly desire and the bit quirky. And that's going to help to balance out the stoicism and also to nourish our souls, ourselves, to feed the lack that has been within us for too long. And it leads us then to change. Now, change does not come because we force it. Change is going to come because we need it. And what we're going to see here is where we're resistant to the change, it starts to come in. But because we've been resistant to this change, we will hold back. We will think, I can't do this. I can't move forward this way here. I don't know if this is what I want, if this is what I need, how I can be. So we're going to see ourselves fight this change. And we're also going to see ourselves start to overcome limitations, start to overcome the ways that have held us back. And as we do this, change sweeps in. We start heading down a different path. We are reborn. Even if we think during this time, I don't want to be reborn. I like where I am. Or I didn't want things to change. I still had unfinished business here. Divinity is moving us forward. And that is so important. And it brings us then to resilience. We are more resilient than we think, but there is also more that we have carried with us than we know. And it's time to stop merely existing, to looking at the ground in front of our feet, and to put down our world tree, what it is that we want to plant, what it is that we want to develop, what it is that we want to grow within ourselves, and say, why can't I give it roots that aren't mobile? Why can't I put it down here and start to grow? Now, it doesn't mean that we have to be stuck here. We can think of our world tree very much as an ent from Tolkien, and it can get up and it can move and it can go where it is that it wants to be. But right now, we need to be looking at the stars and the sky and the sun and the brilliance of the world and the way the clouds move across the sky at day and at night, and just see the brilliance of it. And we don't see that brilliance if we're just looking at where to put our foot so we do not fall. Okay. Now, this brings us to this full moon. Now, this full moon, again, on the 26th of April, is about, and as all full moons are about, it's about surrendering to the divine. Why? Because it's better that way. It's kind of that statement to, that thy will be done, or to thy will it be done. And there's a sense of knowing that there's a higher power here. And it's not a cop-out, though we can kind of think of it as that if we're inclined to, where it's like, I can't carry this alone. I can't just hold this all the time. So there is going to be this sense of a release, a sense of, I need you to hold this energy. I need you to kind of work out these problems. And it can be any form of divinity for which we see. There's also a sense of needing to gain an understanding, a reliance, a truth unto ourselves, and letting go of what doesn't let us grow, and having a spotlight put on our fears. So if we say, you know what, I can't hold this anymore, and we release it. We can release it to the moon, we can release it to whatever God we worship, we can release it to the world, or just even to state it, to write it down, to have those moments alone with our thoughts and say, this is what I need to release from me. We can start to feel our power coming forward. We could start to feel our purpose awakening. And it leads us to the full moon in Scorpio. It leads us to, it's time to release the negativity. Why? because it's been too much. Now, during this time, as we're releasing the negativity, because the Sun, Mercury, and Venus are all conjunct Uranus, what we're going to find is Uranus has a tendency to heighten the disruptions within the world. So as it heightens the disruptions, we see this in the areas of the Sun, which is in Taurus, which is bringing the emotional maturity to the table, okay, deepening that emotional maturity. What needs to be pulled out, the part of us that we tend to think, oh, I'm being a nice person, I'm swallowing my words. I'm being a nice person, I'm not losing my temper. I'm being emotionally mature, but we're also being emotionally kind of, okay, that's harsh, but Spirit is saying cowards, because we're not embracing and going after and saying what we need to say. So there is a sense here of maybe not being confrontational, not getting into fights. That's not what Spirit is about. But it is a sense of, I get to stand where I need to stand. I get to say what I need to say. And there is a power and a purpose to me. And people don't have to understand that. They can think their power and their purpose is better than mine, and that's fine. But I still get to have my worth. I still get to have my say. And I still get to have my power. Period. End of discussion. And there's a sense when we release the negativity, we start to release the places where we were stuck, where we couldn't grow, where we were this plant coming out into the world, and we just couldn't break through. And now we're going to start to see ourselves breaking through in this scary way. And also because, again, the disruptions are coming out. It's going to be coming out in Mercury, and Mercury rules our way of communication. So the disruptions within the world, the chaos within the world, can start to impact our speech, can start to impact the way that we communicate with others. And we have to be very mindful of that, because we can't be caught up in a grand drama that may not be about us, that may, be, in a sense, fostering a rage forward. And there needs to be a sense of, I can move forward in peace. I can move forward in harmony. I can move forward in connection. We don't all have to see things the exact same way in order to be friends, in order to respect another person's viewpoint, or in order to hear another viewpoint. And so the disruption within the world does not mean that our speech gets to be silenced. It does not mean that, we get to be ignored. It means that I get to see the power and the humanity of the world. And I get to know that there is beauty and there is kindness and there is truth here. And then it leads us to Venus, which rules our love and our romance, but it also rules our private emotional side. And so when we're releasing the negativity, but also Uranus is coming in, and again, the disruption is coming out. How can I love? How can I trust? How do I know I'm going to be safe? How do I know things are going to be secure? Our fears start coming forward, and they start to manifest in ways that we see them. We see them in our day-to-day life. And this is a time where we say, listen, I cannot change the world. I might be able to over time. But if we set out and say, I'm going to change the world, and the world is going to think the way that I want it to think, it's never a good thing. It never really happens that way. If we say, I'm going to do my best, I'm going to move forward with humanity at my heart and at my soul and at myself, and I'm going to be kind, that starts to change things. And during this time, we start to see emotions running high. Why? Because it's a supermoon. And emotions run high during a supermoon. It brings us then to attraction. What we set out, what we focus on, where our intentions are, is what we attract. Now, if we're angry, we will attract more anger. If we are happy, we will attract more happiness. If we are trying to figure things out, we're going to attract things that make us work out our problems, make us work out our difficulties. Now, we can be riding happy, and then all of a sudden somebody comes around in our life and knocks us down. Why did we attract this? Because the happiness is going to be grounded within us. And if it can be so easily swiped away, we need to work on it a bit more. So those are going to be the things that start coming forward during this full moon, and really making us see ourselves, what we desire, what we want differently. And it brings us then to the new moon. And the new moon is always about a new start. It's always about beginnings. And it's kind of like a blackboard, wiped clean. What can be placed on it? What is going to be discovered? And it leads us to the new moon in Taurus. It says prosperity lies ahead. And it does. Prosperity, abundance, bounty, a different way of seeing things, a different way of calling wealth within our lives, a different way of looking at what we want. So the bounty and the prosperity starts coming forward. Because again, we're taking the time to look at the expanse and say, how is it that I can embrace what I want? What is it that matters to me? It's again that sensuality that came up in the lunar god, right? The masculine that came up, that came forward. Taurus energy is not masculine energy, but it does have that kind of masculine undertone where we see it as having to be strong and stoic and stand alone, but it is sensitive and it's caring and it needs to be nurtured. So that energy is coming forward. And if we ignore the erotic, if we ignore the beautiful, if we ignore the sensual within life, we ignore a huge part of ourselves by just saying, or the huge part of the world, by just saying we need to get done what needs to be done. What about the beauty? We can make buildings, and we have made buildings that are extremely functional, and they are ugly and depressing. And we have made buildings that aren't extremely functional, but that bring a sense of awe when you walk into it. It's kind of like the cathedral is supposed to imitate the forest and being a part of, something that is greater and being kind of cocooned and taken in by the earth carved by man. There's something beautiful here. And I use that as an example just because I think it's beautiful. And so here, prosperity lies ahead. There is a sense of prosperity. There is a sense of beauty. There is a sense of wonderment that comes forward. And there's a sense of, it's not going to be like everybody else's. And so what? If everybody else was so happy, we'd see more people smiling and laughing and being able to experience joy. Do we? No, we don't. It leads us to the full moon in Sagittarius. The full moon in Sagittarius is on the 26th of May. And it says here, look at the bigger picture. Conclusions are within reach. And also emotions run high. So conclusions, answers come forward. Emotions, yes, they run high. It's intense. It's hard. It hits us when we're down. Life, it just does that. We can start to see answers. Why? Because we're working out the questions really well here. We really are. And we look at the bigger picture. There's this guy, his name is Lance somebody, and he has studied with the bow in a way that historians did not think possible. You would read accounts of people working with a bow, and you would go, oh, okay, they're exaggerating. Or, oh, okay, it just seemed like that. And you still thought that you either had to line up or be very steady on your horse to be able to shoot. We did not know that there could be a fluidity to it. And now that is what we are learning. Through him, through this man who picked up a bow and lived with it. So here we are looking at the way to take aim. And it isn't just lining up and shooting. It is moving and running and expressing the dance of life and taking aim while we see the bigger picture, but we also know what we're focusing on. It leads us to the spirit animals. Now, the spirit animals for April, and even though we're in April for only a short period of time, they are the wolf spirit and the hawk spirit. The wolf spirit says, turn knowledge into wisdom. Well, isn't that what life is supposed to be about? As we age, as we grow, even though the world says we're not worth anything because we're getting older and youth is the only thing that's valued, that is beyond the realms of asinine. It really is. But we turn knowledge into wisdom. We turn the knowledge that we have accumulated over time into the wisdom that we live by and the wisdom that we share with the world. The hawk spirit says, let spirit be your guide, because spirit can see clearer and fly higher than we ever can. But the wolf spirit is also calling us to see where we belong within the pack of our world, where we want to be. What is our pack? Who are the people we rely on? Where does our heart guide to? So often we have the picture of the lone wolf, just idealized. But here's the thing. The lone wolf is not the healthiest wolf. He's not the wolf that can hunt the easiest or the wolf that sings the greatest. He's just not. He's a stressed out wolf because everything relies on him. And he's a social creature and it's not supposed to all just rely on him. And so we need that community. We need that pack. We just do. This is going to be a time where if we don't have that pack, we look for it. We start to branch out. Even if it's just online, we start to talk to people. We start to connect. We start to look at things and say, where do I want my world to be? And we start to discover, we start to see. This is a time of sharpened intellect. This is a time of looking towards freedom and a deeper connection with ourselves, but also what we want from life. The hawk spirit is symbolic of the messenger of the world, of the spirit world. So this is a time where we start to focus on power, where it's not focus on power. It's our focus and our power the focus of our power, like it comes into focus. Okay, that's what Spirit is trying to say. It comes into focus. We have clearer vision. And this increases our spiritual awakening, our sense that there is more out there than meets the eye. It leads us to the beaver spirit and to the antelope spirit. No, not the antelope spirit, the elk spirit. But of course, I do not have an elk card, so the card that's standing in is the antelope. Now, the beaver spirit says, lay a solid foundation. The elk spirit is all about knowing that this is a time that we are entering into a time of plenty. And that everything you need, you will get. This is important. Everything you need, you will get. Not everything you want, everything you desire, everything you need will start to come. And it might not be what you want at all. It might be completely opposite. And the beaver spirit says, lay the solid foundation. Why? Because it's time to trust your creativity and your accomplishments through cooperation. It's being motivated to jumpstart, to go, to see, to find, to express. And all these things start to come into play. And it starts to open up our eyes, and open up our world. Let us see things differently. Let us understand things differently. It leads us then to our chakra message. And our chakra message for this time, the place that we have to be a little bit more aware, a little bit kinder to. All right, is right here. Is abundance. Is the root chakra. We have to be kinder to our rooted self and what we are good at and what we are not good at. Abundance comes, and abundance is a part of us. If we think, I don't get to be abundant. If we think wealth is for everybody else, it starts to pass us by. And as we get disappointed with our world, with ourselves, with everything that is done and everything that needs to be done, it can be very easy to feel forgotten. This is a time where we focus on our talents, where the idea of, I'm just waiting for the other shoe to drop, gets called out. And we say to ourselves, why can't I be abundant? It doesn't mean that we have to live like millionaires. It can simply mean that we live well, that we live secure. And that's enough. To live secure, to live stable, that is a good thing. And so here we start to focus on abundance, on what we need to be happy, on what we don't need, on what clutters our lives. And it starts to move us to realizing the energy that we need to be mindful of and the traps that we need to be mindful of within this world. And that is the Lovers. And the Lovers is Gemini energy. This is also a sense of falling in the trap of simple passion for passion. Passion for passion and lust for lust is beautiful. There's a time and there's a place for it. But as we are moving forward, we want more than just to have our head turned. We want more than just a quick, simple release. Though there's nothing wrong with embracing that. There's nothing wrong with feeling alive and letting that feeling guide us forward. With the Lovers comes this sense of, what do I want from life? What do I love in life? Who do I want to be? Where do I want to be? And we have to be mindful not to get caught up in lust and not to be manipulated by lust. Or even just somebody taking what we truly desire and using it against us. Saying, I know this is the most important thing to you, and don't you want it to be improved by just doing this or just doing that or just looking at things my way? And if it goes against who we are, there's a time that we have to step back. And we have to embrace our honesty of self. And it moves us to the Wheel of Fortune. It moves us to a new season. Things aren't the same. This moon brings forward a new season because it is that cycle of death, rebirth, and regeneration. It is that sense of there is more here than I realize. And I'm embracing more than I knew. There's a change. And we need that change. We might not know we need that change, but there is a sense of, I need to move forward. I need to go after what my heart desires. And the new season is saying it can't always be the same. And we might have liked the season that we were in before, but now that the season is coming forward, it's like, oh, okay, this is why I have to be here. This is what I desire. This is what I want. This is what I need. And it leads us to the Queen of Wands. It leads us to our passion, our creativity, our tenacity, what we desire, what we want, what we need. But the Queen of Wands always makes me think of Hestia in Greek mythology. She was the one goddess who said, I do not need to be a main goddess. It is going to cause another war. Because after the Olympians defeated the Titans, they were going to have another war because there was not an equal amount of gods and of goddesses. So here sat Hestia, and she said, enough is enough. And because she said enough is enough, she was worshipped in every single home throughout Greece and Rome. She became the goddess of the hearth, the center of the home, the one that people remember, the one that people told their stories by, grew by, laughed by, loved by, died by. There is more here than being the one with their names in light. There is more to the Queen of Wands than we realize. Yes, she is not afraid to roll up her sleeves and get her hands dirty. Yes, she is not afraid to go after her goals. Yes, you have the king and the queen looking at each other. It's kind of like you know what's happening. The power and the rejuvenation. The change and the goals and the luck and the bit of magic here, the bit of spark. You know, that certain something that people have that sets them apart. There's a sense of that opening. There's a sense of that becoming. There's a sense of the more. There's also a sense of passion running high. That's why we have to be very mindful not to be swept away with it. Not to be swept away in simple lust for lust and passion for passion. And the erotic not in the sense of the beautiful, but in the sense of the here, the now, the want, the need, the carnal. Which is not bad, but it needs to have a place. And we can't be swept away by it. So there's a sense here of coming together. There's a sense of a soulmate connection, true love connection, passionate connection. This can be in work, this can be in love, this could be in any form of relationship. There's an intensity here. It can be the relationship that you have, is gaining momentum, is changing, is amplifying in one way or another. But we start to see that determination lead us. We start to see that focus come in. We start to see ourselves embracing a new dawn, just as we're embracing a new season. But if that season is the winter, that is going to be a different season, of course, than if it is the summer. There's going to be different bounties. There's going to be different comings that we need to realize and that we need to understand. There's a sense here of opening the door. There's a sense here of knowing the self just a little bit more. Looking at what we focus on, looking at what we want, looking at what we need. And it brings us to the Nine of Pentacles. And the Nine of Pentacles is a sense of a job well done. Prosperity, bounty, accomplishment, success. It is a sense of more. It is a sense of the veil being lifted from our eyes, seeing things more clearly, or at times needing to have the hawk, the spirit messenger of the world, come in and alight on our arm and be veiled, because we can't see so much all the time. We need to take in what is here and what is now, and not be swept away by the bigger picture, by what is to come. So this moon also helps us focus. It helps us see. It helps us embrace the tangible just a bit more. It helps us celebrate. And as we do so, we start to see the sneakiness. We can see the people that we can't always trust. We can see the part of ourselves that doesn't want to tell everybody everything. And in a world where we post everything every 5 seconds, it might feel like we're holding out. But it's not a bad thing. It just isn't. To be able to step back, to be able to look at things, to be able to say, this is mine and it is not yours. That's important. It really is. This is a time where we look at what we want and we desire. This is a time where we take what we need and we leave some things behind because it's become a burden to carry it. There are some things we don't need to define ourselves by anymore. We don't need to live through anymore. It moves us forward. We're changing. There's a sense inwardly of changing and of not wanting to share it with everybody, but wanting to revel in it, wanting to enjoy it, wanting to embrace it, wanting to see by it. And it moves us to the Knight of Wands. And the Knight of Wands is passion and insight and ideas. And what's very interesting is where the King of Wands has the Ouroboros complete. All the serpents eat their own tail. We eat our wisdom. We eat our knowledge. The quite literal cycle of death, rebirth, and regeneration comes forward. The Knight has some of the Ouroboros complete, and some are not. He has moments of enlightenment, moments of understanding, moments of heading in the right direction, and moments of being simply merely human. and rashly running off. The Knight of Wands is intense. The Knight of Wands is powerful. The Knight of Wands can sometimes sweep us up in the wrong direction, so do be mindful of that. Especially since things are changing and they're not going to be like everybody else. We can really think, wow, I've done it wrong, haven't I? I don't have the answers that everybody else has. People aren't seeing me the same way. I'm different. That makes me bad. No, it doesn't. It just makes you different. And so what? There's a beauty in the difference. And we need to start embracing that and celebrating that. The King of Wands is passion and determination, focus and fire. The King of Wands is more determined to be seen. I always see the kings as taking center stage, and the queens as being the directors behind the scene. So the kings are the actors, the queens the directors. We see that energy comes forward, and the knight is the one who defends them all. The knight is the one who looks at what is desired, what is needed, and puts the time and the energy and the effort there to build it and to grow it. So there is a sense here of building, growing, gaining understanding, looking at things differently. And it starts to change us. We're going to see our hearts are changing. We are evolving. We're looking at things differently. We're looking at what we need differently, what we want differently. We're looking at ourselves differently. And it brings us to the Eight of Cups. It brings us to walking away from what we once thought we would love. There's an ending here. It's powerful, it's succinct, it's beautiful. The Eight of Cups, well, it doesn't necessarily have to be beautiful when we're going through it, and it may be very ugly as we're going through it, but it's an end. And it's supposed to be there. It can be that we were working towards something our whole entire lives, and we get there. And the devastation of realizing it's not what I wanted. Or we were in a relationship, and it ends, and we lose everything that we've built, and everything that we sacrificed for. The Eight of Cups is intense. It can be heartbreaking. It can be devastating when we're going through it, but we need to walk away from it. It's like a person who goes through a trauma, and all they can talk about is that trauma, that hurt, that pain, that disappointment. What if I did something different? What if this happened? What if that happened? What if I could have changed it? But here's the thing, we can't. Eckhart Tolle, or Tolle, I don't know. He says that to live in pain, to live in the past is to live in pain. And that makes sense to me. Because the past can never be repeated. It can never be again. It just can never be. To live in the future, to live always in the hope of the future, that's to live in delusion. But sometimes we need that delusion because the present is too hard. We need that escape, but we can't be so caught up in the escape of it all that we forget our present. We forget where we are. The Eight of Cups says it's time to move forward. It's time to end a chapter. It's time to walk away. It brings us to the Death card, the dying away of the old self, the rebirth of the new, which is what the Eight of Cups brings us to. It's the first step. Being able to walk away begins the change. And this is a time where we start to see ourselves moving away from something that just wasn't right, something that wasn't as powerful as it once was, or that was keeping us stuck. It might still be astoundingly powerful. There's a sense here with the Death card of an ending, that everyone is equalized by it. The man offering the Pope, here offering gold, the woman falling into a faint, the child right before. And we have the fears, because we can see these pillars, which are part of the moon guard. These fears, these doubts that come forward. What if it wasn't enough? What if it wasn't done right? What if it never will be? There are questions, there is more here than meets the eye. The Death card brings that knowledge, that rhythm, that sense of all things must end forward. And it doesn't matter what needs to end. We have days coming to an end. We have nights coming to an end. We awaken the next day, with different dreams, different hopes, just a little bit different, but still just a little bit different than the day before. Everything has its cycle. And in our heart, we're entering into a new cycle, looking at what we are passionate about, and also looking at what we need to leave behind, what can no longer be carried with us. It moves us to the Hangman. The Hangman doesn't see things the same way as everybody else, and this is in our public arena. So we do not see everything the same way as the rest of the world, and that is not bad. We will think it is bad, yes, because when we are different, we tend to think it's wrong. We can embrace that extreme completely and say, I'm different, I never want to be like everybody else, but that's also a sense of defiance. There is a sense of understanding that I don't have to completely conform, and I don't have to completely, unconform. I can simply be me, and it doesn't need a definition. The Hangman sees things differently because he's embracing wisdom. The Hangman sees things differently because he's at a different place. He's literally having a different stance than everybody else. And so we look at it differently. We see it differently. We start to define it differently. And it moves us to the Six of Wands. It moves us to celebration. It moves us to being able to celebrate ourselves, being able to like ourselves, being able to rejoice in who we are, what we want, in our successes, but also to understand our failures. It makes us proud of ourselves. Not every single moment of every single day, but the Six of Wands, how I love to describe the Six of Wands and how the Six of Wands always comes to me from Spirit. It's that really good boss that builds you up, that makes you happy to go to work, that you're like, I'm going to work and push the extra mile for this person because they're awesome. The opposite of the Six of Wands, well, it is that boss that makes you feel like garbage when you walk in. With no matter how much you do, how hard you push, they will always find fault with you. The Six of Wands is hurt and pain when it is not done right. But when we start celebrating ourselves, it's joy, it's beauty, it's powerful. And it opens up our life, and it opens up our eyes. And so now, in the public arena, it's time to start celebrating ourselves. Because we might not have people. Well, we do have people around here with the Six of Wands that start celebrating us, but it's kind of like once we start telling people how great we are, not through actually saying, I'm pretty awesome, but through living it, through being confident, through being proud of ourselves, because we see things differently, and they might be like, ooh, that's weird. But if we keep on saying, no, this is me, and it's slightly awesome, people start to see that, and doing it in a kind and compassionate way, not in a way that seems arrogant or seems, angry, but just in a way that says, there's more to my heart than you realize. There's more to my soul than you see. And there is always going to be more to me than what is on the surface. And if you get to be a part of that, that's awesome. But you don't have to be. And I don't care if you aren't. It moves us then to the Page of Cups. The Page of Cups is this moon for us in the public arena. It's a teacher. It is a teacher. We are the student. It is showing us so much. And we are going to get wisdom and ideas and an opening of our eyes in such a different way than we expected. And we're going to start seeing more of who we are, gaining greater understanding of what we want and what we need and where we're headed and what we're going for. Our emotions run deep. For the way that we can connect to our emotional state and also the emotional state of those around us is going to be extraordinary, because it isn't going to be defined. It isn't going to be held back. It isn't going to be what everybody else wants it to be. It's going to be so much more, because there is an innocence here. There's a sense of, oh, I didn't know it was only supposed to be this, so it blew up. It blew up, it became more. And it can start in a very small way. But there's like insight and ideas and coming togethers that really start to open our eyes. And it brings us to justice. The idea of justice in the tarot was always a little bit confusing to me, because I always thought of it as white page, black print, the letter of the law type of thing. But I see the justice here as discernment. There's a sense of, I get to choose the energy that comes into my life. I get to choose the way I embrace my world. It's very much the sense of, you wouldn't leave your door open to your house, like wide open, just walk out, go to the store, go out, and then come home and be surprised if somebody robbed you. Because you think, well, my door was wide open. Of course they'd come in. If you called the police and they said, well, your door was wide open, you'd be like, yeah, but my stuff is gone. That's not cool. they look at you like you were crazy. That is what we do with our energy. We connect with people. We let them take our energy. We let them steal from us in a very real way, even though it's it's a spiritual way. So here it's being discerning, saying, I don't need to let everybody into my life. I don't need to open the door to everyone. I can close it. I can be just, I can be fair, I can be balanced to myself. And I get to move forward in that balance, in that truth, in that beauty that is me. And it's okay. It moves us then to the moon. And let us see what the moon has to say. Angels and spirit guides, show me clearly. Guide this reading and show me clearly. Angels and spirit guides. Ooh, there we go. So don't let your past hold you back. Just turned itself around. But we have here, your dreams need a practical plan. This is that Taurus energy coming through. The new moon is, of course, in Taurus. So now we have the full moon in Taurus coming out. We then have don't let pride get in your way. Work through your fears. Scorpio energy being enhanced here. It's a new moon in Scorpio coming. And, of course, the full moon is in Scorpio. Hold your vision. So hold to your vision. What do you need to release? Don't let your past hold you back. So there's something from the past that needs to be released. There isn't time for it. There isn't space for it as we are moving forward. Your dreams need a practical plan. Why? Because that's smart. Because if we have a practical plan, if we can embrace things and say, okay, A equals B, I can move forward like this, and start kind of mapping it out, it becomes easier. Okay, so I started rock climbing. Why? I don't know, but it's super fun. And there's something that is done where you hang from the rope, right? And you look at where you're trying to climb. But instead of just being exhausted and thinking, my gosh, this is hard and horrible, you start looking at the path, and it starts to make sense. You start to see the pattern of it. You start to see the ease of it. Okay, if I put my hands here, I can put my feet there, and I can pull myself and move myself this way. So with the Taurus energy, where we need a practical plan, we need to kind of step out of it, is what Spirit is showing me. And we need to look at, okay, I can move like this. Oh, I never thought of that. I never thought that I could stretch that far, or I could move that way. There's a sense here of expanding, and it brings us to not letting pride get in our way, because it's like needing to hang when you're climbing, and you can see people just scurrying up the wall and doing it great. But if it's a challenge, if you're pushing yourself, as you often are, you need to step back. You need to say, okay, well, that person has been doing it for way longer than I have, and I have to be kind to myself. And I can't let my pride keep me from mapping out my path. I can't let my pride keep me from seeing things clearly. So this is going to be important. Your dreams need a practical plan. And your pride, your ego, let it go. Let it go, because as we're mapping things out, we have to work things out. We can say, you know what, I'm really ticked off. I'm super tired. I'm super overwhelmed. I'm super this. I'm super that. And it's like, that's okay. Because what pride says is that, no, you have to do it all yourself. Or it's always going to be somebody else's fault. But here it's like, no, I need to lay it out. I need to set it up. And then I need to go after what is needed. But I need to be open with myself. And I need to not let my ego hold me back and pull me back. Work through your fears. Work through your fears. There are times where you're going to be afraid. There are times where you're going to be overwhelmed. There are times where you think, I just can't. Here's the thing, you can. And what's more importantly, you will. Because this is a time where we start to see our fears for what they are. They're the things that once we've conquered them in one way or another, we become stronger because of it. It leads us then to holding to our vision, to being able to celebrate ourselves, to being able to say, this is what I want. And it's okay to want it. It's okay to work towards it. It's okay to grow with it. It brings us then to saying, what do I need to release? What am I holding on to that is keeping me stuck, that is keeping me held back? And don't let the past hold you back. Don't let the past become every moment of your present. It's just not fair to you. The subconscious lunar message is a fiery climax approaches. There's fire and passion and desire here that's erupting forward. And it's extraordinary. Let it come. Let it be. It moves us then to go deeper into the lunar message, which is surrender. Surrender to the unknown. Surrender to what is desired but can't be seen. Surrender to what is needed. Surrender to the greater calling of ourselves. It brings us to our subconscious chakra message, which is forgiveness, the heart chakra. We cannot be holding on to everything forever and saying, if only, if only. It doesn't work. It robs us. It doesn't build us forward. Forgiveness of others, yes, that is good. Forgiveness of ourselves, that is imperative. It moves us to our subconscious person message, which is justice. Again, discernment coming forward. Again, a sense of being fair, not simply to everybody else. Because we can spend our whole lives being fair to everybody else only to realize we forgot ourselves. But this is being fair to us. At times it's being a little bit selfish. And if we find and think that, well, I'm always selfish, then it's stepping back. And it's being fair. It's being equal. It's being honest. It's being open. It leads us to our subconscious tarot message, which is the Eight of Pentacles. Hard work, dedication, diligence, creativity, mastering, beauty, carving what is needed, creating what is desired. And there's a sense of, I'm going to have to do this 18 million hundred times because, you have these pentacles here. He's not covering different things. He's covering the same thing until it is perfect, until he has all that he needs, until when? Because this is what is done. There's a sense of repetition here, a sense of perfecting. And that is what we will be doing, and it will be noticed. Maybe by ourselves. Subconsciously we're going to start to say, oh, wow, I've been really working on this. I wonder why. Or consciously we say, oh, I've been really working on this. I wonder why. And we start to see patterns emerge, and we start to see doors opening up. All right, Aquarius. I hope this reading has resonated with you. I wish you nothing but light, love, peace, and happiness. May harmony always be with you. I am sending loving, healing energy to each and every one of you. I love you all, and stay safe. Let's end this reading with a meditation, a clearing away of negative energy, a raising of our positive energy as we embrace the beauty of this pink supermoon. So take a nice deep breath in, exhaling whenever it feels comfortable for you. May you move forward in peace and in harmony, Aquarius, and may you have a blessed moon.